checking emails.
Structural analysis, family evaluation. Go ahead.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for watching our video. Because I haven't even watched it yet.
But that's okay. Okay, so today's Thursday. We were supposed to have our second visit with our social worker. We're a little disappointed that unfortunately something else came up for us, so we had to reschedule till Monday now, and we know that that's kind of like a big part of why the process has taken so long to come to this point, is the fact that there's not enough social workers, and so the process is long. We were like a little disappointed when we got the email, and we're like, because we've been waiting I think 3 weeks now, and we kind of feel like the process it's taken a long time, and we get the impression now that it's going to take a lot longer than we thought it would take, because we kind of felt like once we had a social worker assigned to us, then things would go pretty quick.
But that's not really the case.
But we don't think it's supposed to go super quick either. Obviously, like, we want to make sure that the placement is good and that it works out in the end. Like, and there's reasons why it takes time, but I think the biggest reason really seems to be the lack of social workers and the amount of money that's placed. So if there was more social workers, obviously, then there could be more people working on these files, and it would take less time, because we don't feel like the process should necessarily take like 2 days and you're good to go. But
yeah, so we started this process in 2017, so it's now 2019, and by the sounds of things, it doesn't sound like we're going to be if we continue to go on this path and we're approved, it like kind of sounds like we might not be approved until 2020.
But we really have no idea.
Yeah.
Because they could do the next 7 visits in the next month and a half. But we really have no idea, so that's kind of why we're doing the videos as well, to kind of track how we're feeling now and how things went, and we'll be able to look back and see how things turned out for us.
So we do understand why child protection services sometimes may have to like reschedule, because there's emergency situations that arise that she definitely needs to be somewhere else, and like dealing with an emergency situation with a child is way higher priority than getting us approved for a home study. So we understand. It's just when you like have social services come into your home, I think it's one of those things where you want to make sure everything is in order, and the house is clean, the dishes are done, and all those little things. So I think that that's hard, but also just like preparing yourself, because you don't know what the questions they're going to ask. So it's like emotionally preparing yourself for what's to come, because they're going to like bring up old stuff, that they're going to do those kind of things. So, but you also don't know. Yeah. So I guess, that's for me. Is it like that for you?
No, not really.
No, just for me. I guess for me, I'm just a little bit more anxious.
A little bit of a worrywart, yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect your mothering too much, so it's alright.
Okay, good.
So, that's kind of where we're at with that. So we're hoping that tonight we would be making it. We kind of scheduled, we wanted to make sure to make a video tonight, because we thought we would be kind of giving our impression of the second visit and how that went. But since that's not happening, we still wanted to make sure that we made a video tonight to just kind of talk about this experience. And as well, we wanted to talk about the S.A.F.E Compatibility inventory that we were given. So on the first visit, our social worker gave us this form. And so S.A.F.E is the acronym for the program that I guess we're kind of the first ones going through here on PEI, but it has been used in other provinces throughout Canada and many states in the U.S. I think it was developed in California maybe. There's quite a bit of information out there on the internet. But it stands for Structured Analysis Family Evaluation. It's just basically like a structured way that they do the home studies to evaluate the families and make sure that things are kind of done consistently, I guess, and that there is compatibility between the child or children that are being placed and the families that are accepting. I just wanted to go through just the questionnaire really quick, just to kind of give you an idea of what's in it overall. So the first section, basically you're supposed to answer it together as as a couple. And the first section just kind of talks about like areas of interest, so things that we would be interested in. Like it says if one of us is interested in it, then we should tick yes, and if we're not interested, then we don't.
And so those areas of interest are like, so that's this page here, it's the second or the first page that you fill out. And so it has has a special passion, school mind achievements, pleasure reading, writing, science and math, speaking multiple languages, which languages. And so this too is like, there's one section for child and then there's one section for applicant.
So we fill out just the applicant, and then they would take this form later and see if there's like, for the child or children, they would fill it out, and then just kind of it helps them to see what matches up with it. So like, if we're interested in cooking, photography, whatever. So it's just kind of a general interest.
Yeah.
So that wasn't too, that's not too difficult to fill out.
Pretty basic. The next page is areas of strength. So it's like resilience, recovers readily from difficulties, easygoing, upbeat, good self-esteem, self-reliant, good communication skills. So I'm guessing this is like check yes if this is a personal strength that assists you to find the success in day-to-day life. So like the child or maybe the social worker fills a side out for the child. I don't really know how that would work, but we have like our column right here where we can answer like yes to any of those, like helpful, thoughtful, sense of humor.
And there's some that just apply to the child, like respectful to adults, positive relationship with adults, so those aren't applicable to us. So those two first sections we didn't find too difficult in going through, but it's really the next sections that kind of talk about essentially like, are you ready, willing, and able to parent or foster a child who has this particular need or characteristic or behavior? Then you would tick yes. Maybe you would consider it, or no, you're not willing or you're not ready at this time to foster or parent a child who has a particular need. So there's some that are like general placement considerations, like maintaining family connections or community connections, if they have unknown family history, if they're of a different race than us as the applicants, if there's specific accommodations that need to be made for physical disabilities.
If they're transgender, if they're gay, lesbian, or bisexual, if they're a teen parent with a child that they still are wanting to keep, or there's also one if they're a teen parent and they don't have that child with them.
So then it goes on to a few other just kind of behaviors. There's stress-related behaviors, so like extreme persistence, easily distracted, moody, irritable.
Oversensitive.
So, and it just goes through like quite a few different behaviors. Mm-hmm. And so through all of those, as applicants, we need to rate ourselves. It's just like a self-rating to say, yes, we would be willing to parent a child or children that have exhibit some of these behaviors, maybe, or no. So you just go through each of them. There's some that are more like attachment-related behaviors. So like if there's no interest in maintaining past relationships, compulsive compliance with caregiver requests, lack of warm and affectionate interchanges. The next section talks about learning and school behaviors.
So just if they have learning disabilities, if you're willing, like yes, maybe no. School phobia, require special education programs. So I think that's to be expected too. I feel like some of these are very, expected. And then so this one kind of caught us just kind of off guard just a little bit. I don't know. It was like child sexual behaviors. So like if he or she is like compulsive or, so some of those things that kind of, I don't know, for me that was like, oh, never thought about that.
And one of the things too that it notes here for this section is that I'll just read it. It says, note, sexual victimization is possible for all foster children and youth. In many cases, the victimization has not, as of yet, been disclosed. So that's just as well something to kind of think about, that for any of these things, like as you prepare yourself to take, or as we prepare ourselves to take a foster to take a child or children into our home that have been in the foster care system or have been removed from their family for whatever reason. We only know what we think we know, and we don't know what we don't know until we kind of find out, right? So that there's lots of things that might have never come up or might have never been disclosed, but that definitely affect the child's behavior, and certain things might trigger the child that nobody would have been aware of until that situation comes up. So there's just a whole list of other child behaviors, so like frequent temper tantrums, overly aggressive behavior, hyperactivity, using profanity, chronic lying,
smoking, drug, alcohol abuse, fire setting, stealing.
So it just goes through. There's just a pretty extensive list of behaviors, and then the last part has to do with just kind of more health-related medical conditions or developmental and mental health.
So if like they're pregnant, I guess that's a medical condition. If they have allergies, diabetes, heart condition, blood disorders, cerebral palsy, hearing or speech impairment, visual impairment.
And then just again like autism, in terms of the mental health or developmental, if they're on the autism spectrum, developmentally delayed, if they have eating disorders such as anorexia or bulimia, bipolar or schizophrenia. And so that's basically the whole form. We just kind of skim through with you, but so the idea is that we fill this out and say yes, maybe, or no, and then that eventually at some point, allows the social workers to match a child or children with us as the applicants. And when we were given the form as well, it was mentioned like there's some things on there that we could clarify with the social worker. There's some things as well that might change over the course of the process, like in terms of how we might feel about it, or and so it is kind of just like a tool that they would use to match the child or children with us. So we just wanted to kind of go over that quickly, and I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to talk about.
No, I think that's it. If there is any questions, feel free to comment and we'll do our best to answer them. We don't really know, like, I don't know, we've been going through this now almost a year and a half, and we still, like, there's a lot of questions we have that have not been answered. If you're looking to adopt, or if you're in Canada, or especially if you're on Prince Edward Island, like, definitely reach out to us. We'd love to be able to hear from positive stories of people that may have got matched on Prince Edward Island, because it's definitely something that we can't really find a lot of information or a lot of people who are willing to share their stories here on PEI.
We know what we know so far, but we definitely love to hear from anybody else in Canada, or especially on PEI, that might have any stories to share.
Yeah. All right. And subscribe, because we are hoping to do a video every time we see our social worker, just to kind of give that little bit of information for Canada adoptions. And yeah, we look forward to having you on this journey with us. Thanks so much. Bye.